Hi, I'm Louise Rogers Lalaurie. I'm a translator from French, based near Fontainebleau, south of Paris, where it's about 44 degrees outside today. And I'm thinking about a novel that I translated a few years ago, Human Nature by Serge Joncour. It won the Prix Femina here in France in 2020, and a couple of years later it was shortlisted in my English translation for the Dublin Literary Award. It's set in southwest France on a family farm. The hero is Alexandre, the 15-year-old son and heir to the farm, and it opens in 1976, the long hot summer that was, if anything, worse in France than it was in the UK, as I dimly remember. It's published originally by Gallic Books, and it's now available from Pushkin Press as an ebook. Monday, July 5th, 1976. July was a month of fire, endured by all. The drought was never-ending, and the heat beat down across the high heathland. Even the wild animals were behaving strangely. At night, the deer came close to the houses to drink. They lapped at the dregs of water left out for them in tubs. But often the boars would tip the containers over to roll in the thin layer of mud that resulted. In the fields, the cattle clustered around the drinking troughs. Cows detest the heat, so they would wait until evening to drag themselves over to the mangers, knocking the galvanized metal bars with their horns to vent their bad temper. On the hillside, the springs had all run dry, and the rainwater dams were reduced to expanses of cracked earth. At night, every window in the farmhouse stood wide open. At 2 o'clock in the morning, with the others doubtless all asleep, Alexandre felt the need to take a walk outside. That night, in the light of the half-moon, he could see the suffering of nature. The trees slumped as if struggling to breathe, haunted by the dread prospect of the sun rising one more time, and the close embrace of the suffocating air after the relative cool of the night. His neighbour, old Crisac, loved to predict the very worst, and perhaps he was right. Perhaps progress had brought nothing good, as that politician in his roll-neck sweater had said, brandishing a glass of water to show that we would all be faced with water shortages by the end of the century, and that the solution was for everyone to go back to riding bicycles, like they did in China. Perhaps the crackpot prophets were right. Perhaps one day the sun would never set. Saturday, 10th July, 1976, a trip to the hypermarket. The great advantage of Mammouth was that it took away any anxiety about parking. On the other hand, the large expanse of bare tarmac was hot as hell. No one had thought to plant trees. People walked across it as if it were a great scalding pan, its surface melting in places. But the moment you passed through the glass doors, the cool, fresh air enveloped you like the waters of a lake. And the feeling was ecstatic, perfect happiness. Inside the concrete and steel cathedral, it was as cool as the village chapel, or the caves at Peshmerga. Inside the hypermarket, everyone walked on the flat. After a week at Les Bertranges, the family farm, going up and down the stony hillside tracks, it was restful to feel the smooth floor underfoot. At the meat counter, their mother inspected everything, but bought nothing. 2 men, dressed up as butchers, were shrink-wrapping pre-cut portions in plastic. At the next-door counter, 2 women were slicing cold meats and cured sausage. 20 metres away, a Breton fisherman in a striped top and yellow rubber boots spoke in the gravelly, landlocked tones of the Gers. Alexandre observed the scene. He envied his sister's excitement. Their chorus of pleading carried more weight than he could ever muster to secure packs of Mamie Nova desserts or Cadbury's chocolate fingers. Backstage, in the offices, their father would be talking time frames and bulk orders, making commitments, saddling himself with constraints. It was a risky business. He had to stand his ground and not settle for anything under 50 francs a kilo for their prime, family-reared beef. Their mother guided her flock onwards around the store, casting a wary eye over the food offers, certain that the flaccid, drab-looking steaks, not a trace of marbled fat, had come from dairy cows at the end of their working lives. She recoiled at the sea bream held out to her by the Breton fake fisherman. She had been tempted at first, but the poor fish had clearly suffered on its long journey to the point of sale, and besides, her instinct told her that the real bargains were elsewhere, on the stands at the ends of the aisles. 5 packets of Grand-Mère coffee for the price of 2, all bound together with thick red tape. At 5 o'clock, everyone met at the cafeteria as planned, for the unmissable treat of a peach melba or a banana split. The youngest daughter, Agathe, flew round and around in a helicopter amid the flashing bulbs of a miniature fairground ride, 10 turns for 5 francs. A perfect afternoon. In this land of promise, the heat wave and the drought ceased to exist, and anyone who dared to complain about the air-conditioned atmosphere was a killjoy. Keep cool.